The Fast Show, brought to you by Cheesy Peas.
Me here with you, doing an interview in a darkened room.
You had to be serious about being funny.
Our own show, and I still cry with laughter.
If I get run over tomorrow, I was in that. That'd do me, really.
It was nice.
I've got nothing to say about those shits.
By the 1990s, the television sketch show seemed on its last legs. Then, in 1994, a show for the MTV generation smashed onto our screens. The Fast Show was just that, and the punchline could be the sketch itself. Responsible for giving the kiss of life to a dying art were Paul Whitehouse and Charlie Higson. But when they met at East Anglia University in 1977, their future lay not in punchlines, but in punk.
Charlie was a twat with dyed hair.
Paul was very different to me, and he always has been very different to me. He's very loud and extrovert and funny. He's constantly trying to make people laugh.
He had some boots, which he called après ski boots. I don't even know what skiing was. Never mind après ski. Jesus.
We sort of clicked quite well because we could sort of fill in the gaps in the personality of the other.
Paul and Charlie's shared passion for punk led them perhaps unwisely onto the stage. Was Norwich ready for the right-hand lovers?
Being student punks who were obviously the worst of anything, really. The worst type of human creature, the student punk.
The right-hand lovers fell apart when at least 50% of the band were removed from the university for not doing any work.
No structure, you see, but Charlie gave my life structure down the line.
For Paul Whitehouse, the next steps on the yellow brick road to showbiz success were to take him from Norwich to the environmental department of Hackney Council. Not quite the dead-end job it might have appeared.
I got a lot of ideas for characters at Hackney Council, and I suppose it kind of set the ball rolling.
While Paul was turning his workmates into comedy characters, Charlie graduated, changed his name to Switch, and gave his old one to a pop group, the Higsons.
This is the city life, and the world is wide. Fight, set to fight. Don't let anyone know your side.
In comedy, there's a lot of unfulfilled people who would have liked to have been in a pop group. And there's a few people who were in a pop group. Ricky Gervais, obviously, famously, was in a pop group. And like me, realised that actually he'd be a lot better off in comedy.
After touring and recording 3 albums, the Higsons disbanded in 1986 when their founder opted for the security of becoming a painter and decorator. Charlie's fellow former punk Paul was now a plasterer, and one of their neighbours living on the council estate was a very chummy Harry Enfield.
No Asbos there. It's just everyone's given a glittering career in comedy.
We'd all go down the pub together, and Paul is the archetypal funny mate down the pub, doing funny voices and routines to make people laugh, which Harry would sit there noting down in his notebook and stealing for his act.
Now making his way as an alternative comedian, Harry used the opportunity to develop one of Paul's characters from the pub for Saturday Live.
Hello, everybody, peoples. Welcome. My name is Stavros, and this is my kebab shop, in case you don't know because you're bloody thick or something.
In return, Harry asked Paul to work on the show.
I was quite intrigued by writing, and it was better than plastering. So, well, actually, I suppose, I don't know, it depends if you've got a leaky roof or not, Which would you prefer, someone to come round and write a humorous character or someone to re-plaster it?
Like Jehovah's Witnesses, comedy writers usually come in pairs, and Paul asked Charlie to help him come up with material for Harry. Charlie had been dabbling with writing already, and more importantly, had a word processor.
Paul and I, we found that we did write very well together. He would wander around the room spouting stuff off and acting stuff out, and I'd sit at the computer and kind of organise it and make it into a coherent routine.
Anyway, he listened to Mrs. Thatch, the ironing ladies.
During that series, whilst we were writing for Stavros, we thought this TV writing's quite fun, so we started developing another character, which was going to be this working-class labourer.
Harry always used to talk about the importance of kids being able to impersonate a character the next day in the playground. I think Loads of Money was the first character that we did that had a recognisable catchphrase, and he wasn't a lot more than that.
Shut your mouth!
Almost overnight, Paul and myself were treated as kind of established comedy writers.
You know, we thought, great, and I can hang up my trowel, you know, and concentrate on writing.
Paul and Charlie were now keen to establish themselves as comedy writers without Harry's help. Unleashed, they appeared on 1 Hour with Jonathan Ross.
And one portion of it was this huge game called Knockdown Ginger, where as they opened the door, there'd be a different character behind each door who would ask them a question.
Hello, Jonathan.
It's
Hello,
Jason
ladies.
Queen, the world-famous playboy.
Yes.
Jason, do you have a question for the
I
contestants?
certainly do.
So it meant that we could turn up each week and say, all right, this week I want to be a drunken Viking or a gay opera singer.
Andy D, door number 4.
Appearing with Paul and Charlie behind the doors of Knockdown Ginger and sharing their sense of humour were Vic Reeves and Bob Mortimer.
To me close, don't let me go. It's David Essex and Vic.
Is there any women?
Charlie and I were big fans of Vic and Bob. They made us laugh and still do. So that didn't seem like work at all. That was just, you know, we were proper fans.
One of the characters Paul did on that was Mike Smash, DJ.
Radio Fab's most flip-flap, flobber-dabba-dobbulous DJ.
I remember Bob Mortimer saying, Paul, what are you doing that character for? He's not funny.
Despite Bob's lapse in comedy taste, Paul and Charlie went on to appear in Vic and Bob's Big Night Out, before finally getting the chance in 1990 to write and appear in their own sketches on a pilot show for Craig Ferguson. Fortunately for the fate of the Fast Show, it bombed.
Which meant that we could then go crawling back to Harry and say, have you got any work?
So Paul and Charlie joined the staff of Harry Enfield's television programme in November 1990, where Paul further developed his Mike Smash character, which became pop-tastically popular when he hooked up with Dave Nice.
What would be your idea of a great night out?
Well, you can't beat a nice film, Smashy.
You certainly can't, mate. They're 70mm bungas.
They're Dolby Docious.
They're popcorn-tastic.
Paul never thought of himself as a natural performer. He was fine down the pub, but was always a bit reluctant, not having come from a kind of acting background or being interested in acting. He was a slightly reluctant performer. But Harry kept pushing him to do stuff.
Oh, must we talk about Harry bloody Enfield? Jesus Christ.
Only me!
Look, I just had lunch with Harry. We're great mates. You know, he doesn't need me yapping on about his bloody programme.
I've been working on the bank campaign, and I've come up with what I call my egg theory.
I used to think I was quite funny, but Harry obviously disagreed.
I've 2 words to say to that. Shite!
And what's the other one?
Shite!
And he was very reluctant to let me do anything on the show.
Frustrated at being pushed by Harry not to do stuff on his television programme, Charlie set about creating his own sketch show.
We didn't want to just do the Paul Whitehouse show without Harry Enfield. So we knew, for instance, we wanted to get a full team of performers in and make it a proper team show and not a star vehicle. But we were still not quite sure how stylistically and structurally we could make it different enough to what we were doing with Harry's show. Until for the press launch of the second series of Harry's show, Jeffrey Perkins, the producer, had put together a little taster tape.
I cut together about a sort of 8-9 minute version of bits of the other characters of the other shows, which just distilled it down to funny lines.
Charlie and I watched it and thought, well, what a great fresh approach to doing a sketch show.
So we sort of got the idea then of what about if you tried to do a show which was just the highlights, where you could just do the funny bit with the character, to get away from the sort of traditional sketch show where you'd have this very cumbersome setup.
To cut a long story short, Paul and Charlie wrote a script for a new show full of new characters, new catchphrases and new sketches to be performed by a bunch of completely new faces. They delivered this highlights package to the old faces at ITV.
And they come back and say, we really love this. Everybody at ITV really behind us. We think it's going to be great, but we need to know who are the stars, who are the big names in it. We said, no, this is the whole bloody point. It's not a vehicle for some stars. If you look at any successful sketch show, they have started with relatively unknown people, or at least up and coming.
It was a different story at BBC Two when Paul and Charlie took the script there. Michael Jackson, the controller, cut straight to the chase and commissioned the show under its working title,
The Fast Show's a rubbish title, and it was just a working title, and we just couldn't be bothered or weren't good enough to think up anything cleverer.
Please release me, let me go.
The Fast Show hit the screens running on the 27th of September 1994. It may have had a rubbish title, but like Cheesy Peas, it did exactly as it said on the tin, delivering a constant barrage of characters performed by a fresh and funny team.
We're from the Isle of Man.
Jumpers for golfers.
What did you say, Ryan?
I think I'm going to pee my pants.
I'll get me coat.
Scorgio.
Swiss. Tony.
Hold the bells, mate. Budros Gali. Let me go.
Over the years of working with Harry, working with Vic and Bob, we'd met a lot of funny people that we thought if we ever did our own show, we'd like to work with.
John Thompson was just one of the talents whose name they'd written on the back of a beer mat.
In 1968, a crack team of mercenaries parachuted into Saigon, featuring a cast of thousands.
We'd seen John live. He was a very funny stand-up comedian at the time, John.
Featuring Roger Moore.
Act? What do you mean, act? Have you never heard of a stunt double?
I did stand up to get my equity card because I didn't want to do some sad clowning act.
John met Steve Coogan at Manchester Polytechnic in the late 80s and worked with him on Spitting Image, doing voices such as Gaza. Together they won the Perrier at the Edinburgh Festival before John starred as Fat Bob in Paul Cast Video Diaries. Then came immortality as John became Louis Balfour in the Fast Show's Jazz Club.
Hello, and welcome to Jazz Club, bringing you the best on the international jazz scene.
The idea I had for the look was Commander Straker from UFO, Ed Bishop. And I saw this wig. It didn't fit. It's too small for me. If you watch, it would creep back.
Nice. Great. Really great.
So eventually I looked like Henry V on some of them.
Crazy.
In 1991, Paul Whitehouse appeared as a Welsh woman on the comedy show Paramount City. Besides John, he'd also spotted comedienne Caroline Aherne performing her character, Sister Mary Immaculate.
Looking around, a lot of boys in here tonight are the kind that might think it's clever to put their tongue into a girl's mouth. If he wants to lick something, let him buy a lollipop.
She had a prayer book with a gaffer tape cross on it, like that, and it was supposed to be like a little Bible. It was all his gags.
A lot of people say to me, Sister Mary, have you ever kissed the Pope's ring?
And she was brilliant and very funny, very sweet.
There's a lot of funny women around, but not particularly in the area of doing a lot of good varied characters, being able to do daft stuff as well. So we snapped her up.
And Caroline revealed a comic genius of her own by writing characters for the Fast Show such as Roy and Reenie.
It's really observant, Roy, you know. He sees everything visually.
This is so indicative of Caroline's off-the-wall sense of humour.
But some of them are gay, which is fine. What did I say, Roy?
They're all puffs and glazes.
You lying bastard, Roy. I hope you crash.
I hope you crash, right? You, just me and a plane. Nobody else. Me, just individually. I individually crash.
Hello there. My name is Tommy Cockles, and I was born and raised in the musicals. And
Simon Day was another newcomer making regular appearances on Paramount City as Tommy Cockles, a bitter survivor from the age of variety.
And after the show, Lord Mountbatten, or Monty as I called him, he called me to his office, and he was a very, very well-dressed man, very tall. He had lovely small hands like a young girl. And he said to me, he said, Tommy, you're shit.
Paul and Charlie thought this character would be a good point of reference for Arthur Atkinson, the music hall legend they'd invented.
They sort of came to me and said, now, we've got this character, we've not ripped it off from you, and it's similar, but it's not the same. And it wasn't, it was entirely different. And we thought it would work really well if we just added it into a list of people that Tommy didn't like. Right, I've been asked along here by the people at the BBC to talk about Arthur Atkinson again. I don't know why, he was never that good. But they gave me lunch, so I felt duty bound.
Anyway, here he is, Arthur Atkinson.
Right, well, here's one for you then. This will give you a bit of a treat. Look at this. Yes, I've got another one on the other side. Hey?
The cast was now comedian heavy, so a thespian was needed in the team. In the early 90s, Paul and Charlie had written a couple of sitcom pilots which had never managed to take off. But they did mention their sketch show idea to one of the actors they'd cast in their pilot, Dead at 30. Mark Williams thought it was, to coin a phrase, brilliant.
It seemed to me, and clearly to Paul and Charlie, that comedy was lagging far behind the visual literacy of the people who were watching it, you know, and so the so-called MTV generation, or whatever that meant. But I mean, you know, even soap operas were becoming increasingly visually interesting, and comedy wasn't.
After graduating from Oxford, Mark appeared in the movies Privileged alongside Hugh Grant and High Season before diving into TV comedy on The Smell of Reeves and Mortimer, where Mark starred alongside Paul as Don Powell from Slade. But it was the Fast Show's Suit You characters that presented him with a real acting challenge.
A gentleman shouldn't be walking about in weather like this, should he, sir? It's not good for the health, is it, sir?
No.
Brings them out, doesn't it, sir? The hot weather.
What? The ladies, sir. Brings them out, doesn't it, sir? Oh, where do they come from, sir? With their skimpy tops and their skimpy bottoms and their bare midriffs, sir.
Oh, it's Quim City out there.
I could mirror Paul quickly and more effectively than somebody else trying to do what he was doing, because I could, part of the actory thing, I just picked up on what he did, so it was just like, you know, hello, sir. It's just add, you know, just that extra or less, whatever.
On a hot summer's day like today, sir, don't you sometimes feel like falling to your knees and shouting, "Thank God for women's liberation"?
Paul and Charlie needed to apply their own schmoozing techniques to find an actress for the Fast Show team. They remembered someone from a sitcom pilot called The Honeymoon Is Over.
We had auditioned Minnie Driver to be in this pilot, and she was very funny, and she did lots of different funny voices. She did a very funny Geordie accent and stuff. She wasn't right for the part in the show. We didn't cast her, but we always had her in mind. So when we were putting the team together for the Fast Show, we got in touch with her and said, look, do you want to be in this new sketch show team? And she said, actually, I've just been offered a lot of work in Hollywood, so bugger you can shove your sketch show up your arse.
So, could the Fast Show survive without Minnie Driver? Luckily, Paul and Charlie remembered a colleague from the Harry Enfield days.
Will you two just behave for a change? I was really looking forward to this meal.
Me too. This restaurant was highly recommended.
Probably in my desperate actress mindset, I was thinking I must ingratiate myself to Harry. Harry's the one, Harry's the goal, Harry's the goal.
That does it. Come on, Vera.
But I think naturally and socially, Paul and Charlie were the people I was sort of more drawn to.
She made such a fuss, you know, when she knew we were going to do this show that we thought we'd better let her in or she'll beat us up.
Before appearing with Harry Enfield, Arabella got her equity card the hard way, standing stage side handing gladiolis to Dame Edna. She made her movie debut as Girl on Undercliff in The French Lieutenant's Woman in 1981, but felt more comfortable with appearances in Alexei Sayle's Stuff. Arabella knew she'd found her niche when she asked on the Fast Show,
does my bum look big in this? It was Paul and Charlie, actually. They went, why don't you do someone who's like you? And I went, what do you mean like me? And they went, in any given situation, thinking, this is the wrong skirt, should have the earrings, was their mistake.
Well, it put best of a mistake on me. Do you think the camouflage makes me look fat? What about the unicorn that needs earrings? Does my bum look big in this?
Not here.
Paul and Charlie encouraged the whole team to exploit their individual talents to develop characters.
Good morning, Andy.
Get a grip, woman.
Good morning, Andy.
I'm flattered it would never work.
Morning, Andy.
You completely sex mad.
For example, Simon Day's first sketch made use of his lack of acting experience.
I was absolutely terrified, which is good, because it came across in the character that he was a bit odd. And I really didn't know much about cameras and camera positioning, and because, you know, where you got to stand at a certain point and turn. There was a bit where I came out of a lift. And it was good, though.
Mark Williams turned life as a jobbing actor into a positive asset.
And then Tamara came running home from Somerset House as fast as the little legs could carry her to tell me that I was a direct descendant of Kubla Khan.
Which was nice.
Patsy Nice is an actor, basically, because it came from people saying, yes, I did a little bit of telly did a Heartbeat last week, which was nice.
Simon's observations also led him to create one of his most popular characters.
Right, Toby. Now, I've explained this to you.
It was based on a guy in a swimming pool I saw with 2 kids, and one was in water wings, she was about 2, and the other kid was about 5, and he just said, let's have a race. And just really tried to beat them. He was like an Olympic swimmer. And he got to the other side and rested and went like that, and the kid was in the water wings, and I just thought, that is his family. What's all that about?
Now, go to your room and ruminate on how lucky you are that I haven't had recourse to legal action.
Competitive Dad was never that much fun to do because I mainly had to do lots of... because I had nothing to do in it apart from be the foil to this phenomenally awful dad. But basically it turns out to be everybody's dad. I've got to win! I had more fun doing Katie. At first I thought they were cows, but of course now I hear them bleating. Ba, ba. Twinkle, little star. Katie has more to do with, because she's, rather than just a foil, she's trying to manage this bonkersness. No, Johnny, no, a star. A tiny little twinkling star twinkling away in the night sky, all on its own up there against all that black.
I think it's one of the funniest things that Arabella did, actually. And it was good fun in the sketches, just trying to spring something on her, hit her with something she wasn't expecting. They were always great fun to film because you could start off nicely and then you just go bonkers, really, and the camera would just have to try and follow you.
Leads to the chasm of clams. My eyes are pies.
The madness wasn't just confined to Charlie's performance. Behind the camera, things were getting pretty bonkers too.
One of the bright ideas that the BBC had on the first series of How to Save Money was that people could double up on their jobs. So Mark Mylod, who eventually ended up being our main director on the show in later series, he, on the first series, was working as the production manager, the line producer, who was in charge of the whole budget and the money. He was also the first AD, which meant that he was basically in charge of all the shooting. And he was also the location manager. Now, these are 3 of the most important jobs on a TV shoot. And you cannot possibly give them to one person to do all 3 at the same time.
It was ridiculous. I lived on Diet Coke and Marlboro Lights at that stage, and literally quite a few nights slept in the BBC car park in my car, but I've never told anyone that, actually.
This week, I have been mostly eating Prozac!
Budget conscious as ever, the BBC pulled a fast one and gave Paul and Charlie the role of producers.
Charlie is a megalomaniac, and I think the power that he had there, at last he was able to, exert it.
Charlie played bad cop, Paul played good cop.
No, they were both shitty cops.
Paul would definitely do the Lord of the Flies, who likes fatty?
Aggressive, self-serving.
And then Charlie'd be the, no, I'm just saying that I don't think.
Just nasty.
I like to do the analogy of a piano keyboard with our relationship, in that you've got your left hand and your right hand. And your left hand is sort of doing the plodding stuff, holding down the chords and the structure, and that's what actually makes it work as a piece of music. But you never listen to the right. You listen to the right hand that's doing all the fancy, the flourishes and all the showy off bit. Well, Paul's the right hand and I'm the left hand in that he gets all the credit and all the glory and does the stuff which appears to be funny. But without me, he'd be nothing.
But had the efforts of Paul's right hand and Charlie's left gone to waste?
The reaction to the first series of The Fast Show was muted, I think we should probably say.
A review in the Evening Standard where Matthew Norman absolutely shredded it. I mean, one of the most destructive reviews of any comedy show ever.
Yeah, and it really upset me, because I had a lot of faith in this show and we worked very hard on it.
And then about a week later, Victor Lewis Smith, the regular TV reviewer in the Standard, wrote the complete opposite. I think mainly because he obviously didn't like Matthew Norman. But he said, this show is brilliant.
People say it was cult and all that, but what they mean was that a lot of people didn't get it. So the people who did get it felt like it was theirs, which I think is probably the definition of a cult, actually. Sorry.
It wasn't a massive audience, but it was, you know, a pretty loyal audience.
Which luckily I think convinced the BBC to give it another go.
My knapsack on my back.
In the first series of The Fast Show, Paul and Charlie had written most of the characters themselves. Now another series had been commissioned. It was time to spread the workload to the rest of the team.
Simon would turn up with 3 bits of paper with some bits of pencil written on them. He says, yeah, well, I was decided, I'm not quite sure. No, that's crap. And you'd get kind of like 2 lines out of them.
You better pull your socks up or you're going to be off this show.
John would, every series, he'd turn up with the same 2 ideas for characters that he'd turned up with on the series before, which we'd turned down.
In retrospect now, I was a bit lazy on the writing. I mean, I could have come up with so much more.
Once a character had been created on paper, it was important to get the look right on screen.
You sexy motherfucker!
That was one of the great pleasures of doing it. It'd be like what people were going to be wearing and what they were, you know, and it would be like unveiling the character, and it'd be like, yes, funny.
Excuse me, could you tell me where the photocopier is, please?
Certainly, Bertley, yes. If you go right down to the end of the corridor, turn to your left, you go through the double doors, where you have to catch a bus.
But it was more like, no, not funny, when it came to unveiling one of Charlie's most gruesome characters.
He still probably makes me laugh the most of all the Fast Show characters. But I can't bear the way he looks, and I was really annoyed with Charlie. Charlie will give people a hard time about, you know, costume and makeup. And my God, you know, why has he fucking done that? Well, when he turned up with his fucking big ginger wig and his comedy shirt, I was furious.
I mean, how many layers does he need to let the audience know it's funny?
I just thought it was hysterical. It's one of my favourite characters, especially the one when he's at home with Doreen and he's doing the flight simulator.
Well, we are taxiing onto the runway now. Sorry about the slight delay, but the airport is rather busy today now. As you can see, the captain has...
Someone told me it was a real thing. He had a friend who was a projectionist, total nerd, and he would book a day off every year from work so that he could fly in real time on his airplane simulator, on his computer. He would fly to New York and back.
And as such, when I'm the pilot, I shall not be able to do any of my trademark jokes, I'm afraid. Although, when I'm the steward, things will be different. Oh, would you like to try me nuts? Oh, shut that door, I shall be sucked off.
And he would serve drinks and do all the pilots chat. And I just thought this was such a great idea for Colin Hunt. I found actually that he was one of the characters you could put a bit more in, a bit more pathos and a bit more reality, showing that actually this is a very lonely and socially inept person who's trying to compensate with his humour. And that, you know, he's a pretty desperate character.
After you've done, I don't know, a series and a half of sketches based around a catchphrase in a funny situation, where do you go? You know what I mean? And I think, you know, that kind of route of pathos is a door that's sort of open to you.
Following that route of pathos in series 2 and 3 allowed the team to create more well-rounded characters and add an extra dimension that was more than just a catchphrase.
Terrible flatulence.
Riley Birkin was based on a bloke I met fishing in Iceland, and I couldn't understand a word he said.
Lay back and like that, foreigners. Sometime later, I freely admit that I was very drunk.
There's a kind of cheek about doing a character that says nothing really apart from, you know, poisonous mushrooms.
The idea that he just does sounds. You know, and all that, which was great.
Through the fact that you only get the odd word is you could actually tell quite interesting stories.
And he did the old pathos one with that, didn't he, with the beautiful guys?
And as Billy said, I was in absolute floods of tears. And it was really very cold. And she was... I held her in my arms. afraid I was very drunk.
I know it sounds like an old sort of cliche, but with a character like that, you know, it has to be in the pause that you make you know, things work, really. So I'll sound like an actor if I carry on for much longer.
I actually cried.
I'm even crying now.
Unlock the space between you and the audience, paint your picture there and retire.
Making the sketches longer in order to show this new depth of character meant the Fast Show now had to reduce speed. Two characters who epitomised this new approach were Ted and Ralph.
Ted and Ralph is the antithesis of what the Fast Show started out to be, which just shows how bright they were about adapting to what they were best at.
I think Ted and Ralph were special because they were written by much more talented people than Charlie and me or any of the other members of the cast. That is, you know, Arthur Matthews and Graham Linehan.
The thing that surprised me more than anything was the first appearance of Charlie as Ralph, and realising that not just was Charlie actually, ooh, he's not bad, is it? He was sensationally good.
Ted, something slightly embarrassing has happened. Yes, I'm sorry. I know you must find this very startling, but I would try to explain, but I'm not sure that you would believe me.
I'm, you know, the classic middle-aged bloke who's hopeless when a plumber comes round or a builder, and I'm too kind of keen and nice and desperate to be liked by this person who I'm thinking, they just think I'm this awful middle-class wanker.
Due to his higher social status, Ralph was excluded from drinking with Ted and his mates, except once.
I nominate Mr. Mayhew.
Sorry?
No, forfeit. You have to say tomato.
I beg your pardon?
You've got to put a vegetable in front of each word in the right order.
This is what Ralph, his whole life, has been wanting to be accepted by Ted's mates and join in a game down the pub with them.
Believe you me, I would like nothing more than to join you in your game, but not tonight, please.
Go on, sir, go on. It'll be a bit fun, sir.
Is Ted really...
Tomato, here's aubergine, your potato drinks. It's all right, we've got a new nominee. Hey!
It was probably one of the worst scenes to film that we ever did, because we were all in it, and the drinking game itself was quite complicated, remembering how it worked.
We were just shouting at each other because people were forgetting. I remember it was really hard work.
Go on, it's just a little bit of fun.
Tomato, Ted, aubergine, your, potato, wife's, turnip, dead. Sorry, I mean, the tomato, sorry. It's that balancing act between tragedy and comedy that, if you can get them balanced there in the middle, it makes the tragedy that much more tragic and it makes the comedy that much more funny.
Aren't goodbyes brilliant? They're fantastic, aren't they? So, well, you know, bye, ta-ta.
Getting this comedy-tragedy balance right, with memorable catchphrases thrown in, earned the Fast Show 2 BAFTAs and audiences of over 6 million. But by the end of Series 3, the team were getting itchy feet.
Everybody was wanting to go off and do their own stuff, and they were no longer prepared for me and Paul to tell them what to do, which was quite rightly.
One of the first members of the team to go solo with her own material was Caroline Aherne. After a spell as everybody's favourite chat show hostess, Mrs. Merton, she went on to create and star in The Royal Family with Mark Mylod as director on the first series. The rest of the team went on to make the last 3 Fast Show episodes ever, which went out in true Morecambe and Wise style, featuring a Hollywood star.
Do you like being measured up, sir? Oh, go on, Kenny. Sir. Shoot you, sir. Get him, Kenny. Oh, that's it, sir. That's it, sir. Oh, come on, vent, sir. Join us, sir. Come over, sir. Come on, sir.
While starring in The Fast Show, Mark Williams built up his film career, making his presence felt in Shakespeare in Love, which also featured Simon Day, as well as appearing as Mr. Weasley in the Harry Potter movies. Back on the small screen, John Thompson was expanding his repertoire. He became a household name as Pete Gifford in the comedy drama Cold Feet.
No way is
that kid's 6. Maybe he's Nigerian. What? Nigerian? They have these 20-year-olds that play for youth teams, but they have no birth certificates. They're very good. Does that have any relevance? Well, I was only saying.
Arabella turned a fast show character into a literary heroine when she took her insecure woman into the world of fiction with her best-selling novel Does My Bum Look Big in This?, which she followed up with another 2 successful novels. Simon Day took his sports anchor character Clive to Sky alongside Paul and Mark in the Ron Manager spin-off Jumpers for Goalposts, and Simon remained desk-bound, working with Charlie again in Swiss Tony's BBC Three series.
You will never guess who is in our toilet.
Derek Asquith.
Derek Asquith, yes. Can you believe it? And I've had the most incredible thought. I'm going to ask him to direct our advert.
You can't let that puffed-up old prawn direct an advert.
He's a BAFTA nominee. I know, I have his compendium of achievements. He made the greatest British art films of the 60s and 70s.
Bollocks. Oh, just wank fodder.
Besides taking Swiss Tony beyond the fast show, Charlie Higson developed his skills behind the camera with Reeves and Mortimer when he wrote, appeared in and directed the revival of Randall and Hopkirk Deceased. Alongside his glittering television career, last year Charlie got the chance to develop another character for a series of novels.
They're set in the early 1930s with James Bond as about a 13-year-old. And it is great to sort of go back to the basics of what Ian Fleming started when he was writing the James Bond books, which is just tough action thrillers.
Paul's experience at showing the more poignant side of characters in the fast show proved beneficial when it came to his performance as a whole host of dysfunctional people seeking advice from Chris Langham.
Because the fast show wasn't just a conventional sort of comedy and it did have those elements, it certainly, it helps me to kind of understand those and use them when we came to do help. Yeah.
I think there's some kind of demonstration today because the traffic on the A406 at Brent Cross was absolutely diabolical. You know, I actually rang Nicky Campbell on 5 Live to let them know. And you know, they were quite rude. They said, this is a debate about obesity. I said, fair enough, the traffic's dreadful, I'm going to pull over and have a donut.
Making the fast show was a little bit like driving on a long drive with your kids in the back of the car. Constantly fighting and squabbling and jostling for position and having a go at you, and you are just having to try and concentrate on keeping on the road and not turning around and hitting them.
I'd like to retire, but I can't. Go and get an allotment. Yeah, I used to be in the fast show. No, I'll just do this now.
You ain't seen me. Right.
Well, I don't really do proud, but chuffed. Yeah, quietly.
Can any of you actually hear me? I'm really, really fond of all the guys, but it was fucking misery at times. But I'm going to cry now. But no, we had a fantastic time.
Let's do a movie. Come on.
I have a lot of affection for all the people involved in it and the characters, actually.
Bloody hell do you think you're doing?
Lindsay, you should cover me. Joke.
Jocus Maximus Bollicus #2.